It was really this childhood dream car at the time. To have a black Lamborghini was just everything I'd ever wanted. The point was probably, I'd say, a pretty big midlife crisis in my 40s. I mean, it happens to the best of us, I think. So we were walking through the mall, and I came upon this car. That was the most beautiful car that I thought I'd ever seen. I mean, it just radiated this quality, and the lines and the finish was just incredible. Absolutely went nuts for this, and it was actually a Maserati Gran Turismo convertible. And kind of got that into my head that this is something that I really want to treat myself to. It was maybe 9 months later or so that my wife, she went out of town, and I went to the dealer to look at a used one. There weren't a lot that ever came up as used, especially in the colors that I liked, and so I just thought, I'll just go look. Well, needless to say, I drove home with it. And my wife pretty much wouldn't speak to me for a week at that point, but I now had what I thought was a really cool car. So, went to the car show, started connecting with the community, went on mountain drives. And it was around this time that I had met Ed Bolian, who was the Lamborghini sales director for Motor Cars of Georgia. And he put a little bug in my ear at the time, masterful salesman that he is. He said, this car is actually a car that will inform whether or not you're going to go towards something more sporty or something more luxurious. And I'm like, good sales. And but he was right, because probably about 3 months later, I realized that this car, while beautiful and had some good performance aspects, it was not really doing it for me the way I like to do things when I go up in the mountain drives and what have you. So I started getting this idea that maybe a Lamborghini would be kind of a cool thing to have. And I had some friends who were also talking to me about buying a Lamborghini, how they don't depreciate as much as other cars, and that you can own it, you can get into it, and then you can get out of it and really have the experience of one of these cars without it costing you too much. But you have to kind of find the right car to be able to do this. So I started having a dialogue with Ed, and he started keeping his eyes open for various vehicles. And there was one at the dealership that I thought that I was going to buy. It was around the same price as I could just do a straight trade with the Maserati. So the day I decided to go buy this car, I show up, and Ed tells me that they had just gotten a new car that came from Lamborghini Corporate, and it was a former press car. And that it had just been driven with corporate events, and at this point, that's all I knew about this vehicle. But we went out, we took a look at it, and it was a black Lamborghini Superleggera, 2011, had the warranty on it. It was going to cost me significantly more than what I was looking at, but at the time I was willing to finance it, and I thought it was the price. I'd never seen a car priced like that. But he did point out that he goes, this side's been painted. Well, okay, that's fine. It's still a great price, and it's, maybe who knows what had happened to it, but, as long as it's under warranty, it doesn't really matter. It's still a cool car. I'm not going to drive it that much. If it has to be in the shop for any reason, not a big deal. So I bought it, and it was awesome. It was really this childhood dream car at the time, considering my love of the Cannonball Run Black Countach. To have a black Lamborghini was just everything I'd ever wanted. So now that I have this car that I got for an incredible price, and it's something that, it's been wrecked before, so it's awesome. I mean, I can drive the wheels off of it, and I started doing more Lamborghini events, started connecting a lot more with the local Lamborghini community, and it was just this amazing experience because it opened this entire new world to me. I was invited to come down to Florida to participate in a driving school from Lamborghini that literally costs less than a typical track day for someone in a Miata. And we went down there, and at this point, we're driving all these cars, and we're literally peeling the tires off these things, driving the hell out of these cars, just beating up on them. And at that point I realized, so this is what happens to press cars. Okay, these aren't really for the press or corporate driving events up the coast of California. These cars are made to be beat up a little bit, and it started giving me some ideas about maybe what had happened with my car. So after a while, I started actually having some problems with the car. And yes, I like to drive the wheels off of it, and I literally ended up driving one of the wheels off of it. The rear wheel started to come off. Just put it into the shop, it was repaired. A few weeks later, started having problems with the differential. And at that point I decided, you know what, I have a few months warranty on this thing, it's time to do something else. And so at that point I was able to sell the car. I was able to not only get out of it even, I actually made some money on the deal. So this ended up being one of the most awesome experiences that I'd ever had that cost me almost nothing to, I would even say that it was like I was paid to own this car for a year. So that was really awesome. But after I got rid of the car, a friend of mine came to me, and I guess he'd been withholding this information the entire time, and he informed me that he knew exactly what had happened to the car beforehand. And it turns out that this car had been driven very aggressively at a demonstration event at Daytona, where Valentino Balboni, the famous test driver for Lamborghini, actually drove this thing into the wall at 150 miles an hour. So now that I'm out of it, it was still one of the best cars that I ever owned. I love that car more than anything. It was my first Lamborghini. It was, and how cool is that it was actually had been wrecked by Valentino Balboni himself. The only thing I wish I would have had on that was his autograph.